Hong Kong International Airport's Three-runway system project includes the construction of a 13.5-kilometre-long seawall around the newly reclaimed land, with the aims of enhancing the habitat along the seawall, as well as the biodiversity and fishery resources in nearby waters. Airport Authority Hong Kong decided to use recycled oyster shells, limestone and live oysters to create shellfish reefs on the newly built seawall, after seeking advice from the Advisory Council on the Environment, green groups and other stakeholders. The pilot study is being conducted in collaboration with the Nature Conservancy and the University of Hong Kong.
The use of recycled oyster shell also helps to reduce waste while conserving the coastal environment. The pilot study will be the first of its kind to apply on the artificial seawall in Hong Kong. If the results meet our expectations, the finding and experience gained from our studies will benefit other similar projects in the future.
The project starts with recycling discarded shells of oysters, mussels and scallops. The research team collected discarded shells from local oyster farms in Lau Fau Shan, hotels and restaurants. The shells were sorted and weathered naturally at the recycling site to get rid of any remaining organic materials, helping to avoid any risk of spreading disease or parasites in the waters. The research team suggested that the shells of local Hong Kong oyster species would be the most useful for reef restoration.
The reason why we like the Hong Kong aquaculture species is that it's a native species, number one, and it's very big and it's very thick. So we can recreate structural complexity a lot faster.
The team used the recycled shells as substrates on which they grew live oysters and created new reefs, which were expected to provide nursery and breeding grounds for different marine organisms. In June 2021, the team deployed divers to seed a total of 500 kilograms of recycled shells on around 600 meters square at the northern Three-runway system seawall. A total of around 3,000 live oysters was seeded in the area. The team tried different substrates and observed the growth of new reefs at different water depths to understand the growth characteristics of oyster reefs. After 2 months, the team took 36 samples for preliminary analysis. The oyster reefs had grown steadily. Different marine organisms were found settling on the reefs, including crabs, sea stars, oysters, mussels, fish eggs, fish, and more.
We're really surprised not only with the number of oysters and mussels that have settled in such a short time, but also all of the other organisms that are starting to settle. We're finding that fish have started to lay eggs, so we're also enhancing the populations of fish in the area.
The team will collate the findings after a year of reef deployment. The AA will then evaluate the effectiveness of the study.